Russia's cutting-edge fighter jets have always been impressive. But now, they've taken it to a whole new level. The Su-57 was already a force to be reckoned with. But what happens when Russia decides it's not enough? Their Su-75 is about a game changer. A jet so powerful, even the people behind it are starting to worry. So how terrifying is too terrifying when it comes to military tech? The birth of the Su-57, rewind to the 1980s, when stealth aircraft were the hot, must-have military tech. The Americans wasted no time launching the ATF program, which eventually led to the iconic F-22 Raptor. But here's a little-known fact. The F-22 isn't exactly what you think. Is it really stealth? Well, stealth doesn't mean invisible to radar. It means the enemy can't lock on in time. Obviously, that's the game changer. Just take the words of astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. According to him, the B-2 stealth bomber was so powerful it could literally slip through Soviet air defenses. Similarly, the F-22 was built to dominate the skies before the enemy could even get a missile lock. But Russia? They had different ideas. While the West focused on making jets hard to detect, Russia wanted theirs to perform first and worry about stealth later. So this resulted in the creation of their fifth-gen jet program, MFI, which prioritized high performance with some radar evasion. It led to the ill-fated MiG-1.44, a victim of Russia's struggles in the 90s. But from the ashes of that failure, the Su-57 was born. With its forward-swept wing design straight out of a video game, it was Russia's bold move toward the future. By the early 2000s, the Russian government had another go with the PAK-FA program. Yeah, the name's a mouthful, but it stands for the Prospective Air Force Complex of Fighter Aviation. Sukhoi was handed the project. Honestly, no competition is needed here, thanks to their impressive performance during tough times. And so the story of the Su-57 began, Russia's answer to the stealth fighter race. But could this aircraft, built with a performance-first, stealth-second mentality, truly hold its own? President Vladimir Putin was so confident that he would often show the jet to other leaders on official visits to Russia. You see, this fighter jet was destined to be the crown jewel of the Russian Air Force. But countless delays have grounded those high-flying dreams. Frustrating? You bet. Imagine the engineers who poured their hearts into this project, only to see so few of their creations take to the skies. If you're a business owner, maybe you can relate. Slow sales? Delays in your own projects? But here's the thing. Unlike the Russian Air Force, you can at least fix it. So what went wrong? For years, the Russian fifth-gen fighter was wrapped in mystery, sparking rumors, debates on forums, and military blogs worldwide. But in 2010, the veil finally lifted. The first images and videos of the T-50, its earlier name, emerged, and the media went wild. Some said it was a knockoff of the F-22 Raptor. Others claimed it was so bad, it was almost good. But the truth, it lies somewhere in between. Sure, the Su-57 borrows some design from the American fifth-gen jets, especially when it comes to wing shape. But that's where the similarities fade. Unlike the F-22 or F-35, the Su-57 sticks to the Russian tradition seen in flankers, with its engines housed in gondolas and a tunnel between them to boost maneuverability and lift. It's all about keeping this bird agile in the sky. And those vertical stabilizers, canted, of course, as any stealth aircraft would require to reduce its radar signature. But there's more. These stabilizers also act as a full control surface, borrowing inspiration from a lesser-known design, the YF-23. That's right, the YF-23, the stealth fighter the US passed on during their F-22 selection process. The Su-57's nose closely resembles not just the YF-23, but also its naval cousin, the NF-23. So if you're noticing some similarities to this Navy fighter, you're spot on. The Su-57 sticks with horizontal stabilizers, but adds leading-edge root extensions, which function as a kind of invisible canard to give the jet extra maneuverability during flight. But here's where things get a little weird. From the very first prototype, one design choice stood out: the regular thrust vectoring nozzles and the exposed titanium on its AL-41 engines. Why is that weird, you ask? Trust me, we'll get back to that. Another eyebrow raiser is the placement of the engines. The compressor blades inside the S-ducts aren't fully hidden, even though Russia's older Su-47 had managed to conceal them. Naturally, people started questioning the stealth capabilities of the Su-57. Could it really even compare to the F-35 or F-22 when it comes to stealth? We'll have to dig deep into that mystery. Now, to squash that stealth debate once and for all, several aviation experts have chimed in. In fact, they built detailed 3D models of modern aircraft and ran radar scattering simulations to calculate radar cross-sections, RCS, across various frequencies. Meanwhile, a leaked document for the Su-57's stealth design patent reported that it had an RCS between 0.1 and 1 square meter. Compare that to the F-35's almost non-existent RCS of 0.00005, or the F-22's ridiculously low 0.00001 square meters, and the Su-57 starts looking like a flying billboard. But hold on, there's more to this story than meets the eye. These numbers might look harsh, but it's all about the fine print. The 3D simulations, which didn't account for radar-absorbent RA materials, showed the Su-57 has a median RCS of 0.48 square meters in a frontal 120-degree view. That lines up with the leaked Russian report. But here's the kicker. The F-35's median RCS is just 0.06 square meters, and at certain angles, it can drop as low as 0.001. That's the minimum RCS though, not the overall frontal RCS. Now you're probably wondering, can radar-absorbent materials make a difference? Absolutely. According to research, RA materials can reduce radar cross-section by up to 90%, but no aircraft is fully covered in them. Only key sections like hatches or areas that might reflect radar waves. So while RA materials can shrink the RCS by 20 to 90%, those exaggerated claims of 200% or 1,000% improvements are just that, exaggerations. Here's the bottom line. The Su-57 can't match the stealth magic of the F-35 or F-22, but it's not as hopeless as some critics would have you believe. Any modern radar would struggle to detect or track a target with an RCS under 1 square meter. So in the eyes of the Russians, it's stealthy enough. Now back to those exposed engines on the Su-57. Why would they leave such an obvious stealth killer hanging out in plain view? These exposed nozzles probably bump up the radar cross-section, making the Su-57 easier to spot compared to its American counterparts. And let's not forget about the infamous exposed screws on the Su-57's body. But before we freak out about that, it's worth mentioning that the F-35 and F-22 also have exposed screws and are still considered extremely stealthy. The real issue with the Su-57 isn't stealth, it's something far more pressing. But what could that be? A setback for the Su-57 project. Here's where things really go sideways. It's the engines. The Russians made a classic mistake that's haunted them since the Cold War. They started developing this jet without its new engines ready to go. Now that's not necessarily a disaster. Other successful jets, like the Rafale and the Su-27, took their first flights without engines specifically designed for them. But this is where it gets tricky. The Su-57 still doesn't have its proper engines. The development of the Izdali-30 engine is a drama in itself, and serial production of the Su-57S is still relying on AL-41F1 engines, which are similar to those in the Su-35. Don't get me wrong, these are solid engines. But here's the catch. They're based on older AL-31 engines because the AL-41FS, which was meant for the Su-57, was simply too big for the airframe. What does that mean? The Su-57 likely won't achieve supercruise with a full combat load. Even the Su-35 only manages that in a light configuration. Now, one cool thing about these AL-41 engines is their 3D thrust vectoring, which gives the Su-57 mind-blowing maneuverability. Plus, the thrust-to-weight ratio is over 1, even with a full combat load, making it a dogfighting beast. But let's be real, dogfights are a rarity in modern air combat. Sorry, Tom Cruise. The future, if it ever happens, is the Izdali-30 or L-51 engines. These engines are supposed to finally give the Su-57 true supercruise capability at Mach 1.5, along with serrated nozzles, like those on the F-35's F-135 engine, to reduce radar signature. There's even talk of eliminating the exposed titanium areas, maybe opting for a sleeker, more stealthy design like the Su-57's wingman drone, the S-70. But the million-dollar question is, when will this actually happen? Oh, did we mention the Su-57 has its own drones? Here's where things get really interesting. What might really give the Su-57 an edge is its partnership with wingman-style drones like the S-70. Unlike the Su-57, which has its share of stealth issues, the S-70 is designed to be much stealthier, and its size allows it to carry some serious firepower. Paired with the Su-57, it could create a deadly combo, where the Su-57 or an AWACS spots targets, and the drones swoop in, completely unseen, to engage the enemy. Russia is also developing something called Okhotnik, a new data link system, like NATO's Link 16, that will allow seamless coordination between the Su-57 and its drones.
That's where the Link 16 comes in. It's a military tactical data link network used by NATO for communications and weapons interoperability, functioning like an Internet of Things or cloud for military hardware.
The S-70 has already performed several test flights, so it's not just a pipe dream. But with the war in Ukraine and the state of the Russian armed forces, here's the real question. Where is the money for these futuristic projects going to come from? And that brings us to the root of the problem. It's not just about engines, stealth, or drones. It's about money. Originally, India partnered with Russia in 2007 to co-finance the development of this new fighter in exchange for a two-seater variant and the license to manufacture the jet domestically. However, the development of the T-50 prototype and the entire PAC-FA program faced numerous delays, mainly due to engine issues and the integration of entirely new avionics, radar systems, and sensors that were supposed to be the aircraft's backbone. India eventually grew tired of the constant setbacks and, in 2018, exited the project, leaving open the option to purchase the finished aircraft if Russia ever managed to mass produce it and integrate it into their air force. So, taking into account the future of air combat, one thing becomes clear. The Su-57 wasn't enough for Russia. They needed something more, something sharper. And they're developing that in the form of Su-75. Of course, the Su-57 is still a beast, but in the face of evolving threats, they need a fighter that is lighter, stealthier, and more cost-effective. So why settle for good when you can aim for greatness? Russia knew it was time to push the envelope and introduce a game-changer. Su-75 Checkmate. You know what? Checkmate even has America taking notice. Capable of flying further than the F-35, reaching Mach 1.8 without afterburners, and even featuring AI-assisted remote control, this concept aircraft sounds incredibly impressive. On paper, that is. As any aviation enthusiast knows, the road from concept to reality is filled with challenges. So is the Checkmate poised to become the future of Russia's Air Force, or just another experimental dead end? Time will be the ultimate answer. The Cold War may be behind us, but a new kind of arms race is heating up between the US and Russia. Despite being a shell of its Soviet self, Russia continues to challenge America's military dominance with its ambitious aviation projects. Much like the Soviet-era tradition of parading new technology during May Day celebrations, modern Russia uses every opportunity to flaunt its military prowess. The unveiling of the Sukhoi LTS Checkmate during an international air show was no different, drawing immediate attention from aviation experts worldwide.
This is the new 5th generation light tactical fighter. This is the Checkmate.
Known also as the Screamer, the Checkmate certainly shares some striking design similarities with the Lockheed Martin-made F-35. Both feature angular, widely splayed tails, a slim fuselage housing a single engine, and large diamond-shaped wings. However, these similarities don't necessarily mean that Checkmate is a mere copycat. The aerodynamic demands of stealth technology naturally shape these designs. There's only so much you can push the boundaries of physics while maintaining stealth capability. Some of the notable features of the Checkmate include a cropped delta wing, movable fins for added control, and a distinct chin inlet for air intake, which wraps around the lower fuselage. Its large wings suggest it can reach altitudes as high as 40,000 feet or more, although specifics remain classified. The aircraft also boasts internal weapon bays, housing 2 short-range air-to-air missiles and 3 longer-range missiles, as well as an internal gun for added combat versatility. Now, the Sukhoi LTS Checkmate doesn't just look the part, it's armed to the teeth. While it can maintain its stealth profile using internal weapon bays, it also has the option to carry weapons on external pylons for missions where stealth is not a priority. Its internal weapons bay is designed to accommodate a variety of ordnance, including air-to-air, air-to-ground, and anti-ship missiles, as well as guided and unguided bombs and rockets. With a maximum combat load of 7.4 tons and a maximum takeoff weight of 18 tons, this aircraft is packed with firepower. Performance-wise, the Checkmate is reported to reach Mach 1.8 and fly supersonically without afterburners. It also boasts an 8G maneuvering rate, giving it impressive agility. It's expected to be powered by the same engine as the Su-57, which further ties it into Russia's next-generation fighter jet program. But the real intrigue lies in its technological advancements. Rostec, the builder, has hinted that artificial intelligence will play a role in the Checkmate's design, potentially assisting with voice control and other in-flight operations. There's even talk of developing a twin-seat manned version, as well as an unmanned variant, leaving many to speculate whether the future of Russian air superiority might include AI pilots flying the jets. This kind of innovation could reshape the future of aerial combat. The plane's public debut came with much fanfare at the MAX, International Aviation and Space Show, held at Zhukovsky International Airport in 2021. It was the perfect venue, as MAX is the premier stage for Russian aviation, with over 800 companies from 56 countries in attendance. On July 20th, 2021, the Checkmate was officially unveiled to the world, complete with dramatic music and a media spectacle befitting a jet poised to challenge the dominance of Western fighter aircraft. While this jet's potential is impressive, it's still in the concept stage, and only time will tell whether it can live up to its lofty promises. Coming to Rostec, it's actually a branch of Russia's United Aircraft Corporation. Before the July 20th launch, Rostec hyped the plane up, calling it a fundamentally new military aircraft. They also bragged about Russia being one of the few countries that can handle the entire process of producing advanced aircraft. Oh, and fun fact, the same company is working on hydrogen-powered engines for aviation and ground vehicles. Definitely another moment of glory for Russia. But here's the real question. Can Russia even afford to roll out this creation? We know twin-engine jets, like America's F-22 or Russia's own Su-57, are fast and reliable. But they come with a price. They're expensive, heavy, and guzzle fuel like there's no tomorrow. They're also a nightmare to maintain. But when it comes to the Checkmate, a single-engine jet that should be lighter on the wallet when it comes to buying, fueling, and maintaining it. Sounds good, right? Not so fast. While it's cheaper than some, the Checkmate is no bargain bin fighter. According to the project's CEO, it'll cost around $25 to $30 million. However, here's the kicker. That's still way cheaper than America's F-35, which as of 2020 had a $78 million price tag. Imagine more countries being able to spend $30 million on a jet instead of $78 million for an F-35. The economics start to make sense, don't they? Russia knows this too. The success of the Checkmate will rely heavily on foreign buyers to keep it afloat. That's why they pulled out all the stops at the launch event, even releasing a promotional YouTube video showcasing pilots from potential client countries like the UAE, India, Vietnam, and Argentina. These are the places Russia hopes will be itching to add a shiny new Checkmate to their military collection. Not surprisingly, Western aviation experts were quick to rain on Russia's parade, pointing out that the Sukhoi LTS is just a prototype and far from being a mass-produced fighter jet. At the air show, eagle-eyed specialists noted some issues: missing wiring, hydraulic lines, and other telltale signs that this was more of a display piece than a real aircraft. But Rostec boldly claims the Checkmate will be ready for test flights soon. Now, is that confidence or just some wishful thinking? Only time will tell. Rostec has set 2024 for the first flight and aims to deliver jets to clients by 2027. Bold, right? Of course, critics were quick to bring up the infamous F-35 timeline. It took nearly 20 years from concept to production. But comparing the Checkmate to the F-35 is probably the worst analogy ever. Why? Well, we have some juicy context. The Pentagon once decided to replace the highly successful F-16, a fighter jet that had been around since the mid-1970s, with over 4,600 produced. The F-16 was a legend. Fast, reliable, and able to carry 15 different bombs, including 2 nukes. It could also shoot down enemy aircraft with 5 different missiles and destroy ground targets with 4 more. Basically, the F-16 was an all-out killing machine. Then along came the F-35, or should we say, stumbled in. Unlike the F-16, the F-35 can't fly at twice the speed of sound, and its supersonic mode even comes with a warning for emergency use only. To make things worse, the designers ditched the usual toggles and switches for modern touchscreens, which sounds great, except they fail 20% of the time. Imagine being in a dogfight and your touchscreen freezes up. So any aviation expert will tell you, these target dates for a jet of this scale? Super ambitious. But let's not overlook the strong points the Sukhoi LTS brings to the table, especially when it comes to price. For a stealth fighter, the Checkmate could be a real bargain. Do you think Russia's Checkmate will live up to the hype, or is it destined to crash and burn like other ambitious projects? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button for more.